I am a 2011 graduate of the program here, and I was development manager at Styles, and I work with the Alumni Association. So we're really trying to revamp the association here and get the alumni together for networking opportunities. So we really appreciate everybody coming out today. If you haven't seen us, we have a LinkedIn group, and we're working on a Facebook networking group as well. So we'll start inviting people to those. And I just want to thank everybody for coming and introduce Rob Saunders, an alumni who's going to start the program. Thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can everybody hear me well?
Yep.
All right, I don't want to scream at anybody. I did wake up with a sore throat, don't judge me. Again, as Jessica said, my name is Robert Saunders. I graduated from the program in 2015. I'm just going to say I did love the program. It was amazing to me. That's why I'm here, and that's why I'm glad that you guys are here. But ultimately, at this point in my career, I am working as an analyst with Transwestern. My career actually started through the program. I was hired by one of the adjunct professors here. So if anybody can really attest to what this program was able to do for any of us, that's really me. Hey, San Miguel, I love you. I hated you, but I did want to give everybody an opportunity to introduce themselves. We'll start here with Andrew Remick. Please feel free.
Hi, good afternoon. I graduated from the program in 2012. I'm currently a partner over at Highline Real Estate Capital. We're a boutique private equity firm focused on acquiring retail and office assets. To date, we've acquired about $75 million, which is about 450,000 feet. I came into the program straight out of undergrad, so I honestly knew nothing. So it's because of the program is why I'm here now.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Stephen Gouache. I'm a managing partner at Defined Companies. I graduated from the program in 2016. I leveraged the program and the relationships I built here to actually meet my business partner, and a lot of relationships to work in development. We are a ground-up multifamily developer. We do look for existing assets as well, but we focus on residential. We started the company back in 2017, and we have a couple projects in the pipeline. We have about call it $15 million in the pipeline currently with assets under management and also jobs under construction and also development. So, our whole mentality is crawl, walk, and run, kind of iron out the process, make sure our business is in line, and hopefully we can structure ourselves for future growth.
Janae, before you start, I did make a mistake with Andrew Remick. His name is now New Daddy Andrew Remick. And as you can see over there, Mr. Business Partner has that baby. We love you, man. Happy new daddy. All right, Janae, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. Hello, everybody. My name is Janae Valentine, and I graduated the program in 2016. I now work for RMA. It's Redevelopment Management Associates out of Pompano Beach. And we're consultants to private sector and public sector clients. Mostly we deal with a lot of cities doing redevelopment plans, assisting in their CRAs. Like, for instance, one of our clients right now is the city of Pompano Beach. So I'm working on a really cool redevelopment redevelopment project there. We're removing a 1926 house to a park and reconverting it to a restaurant. So it's pretty awesome, it's exciting. I work in the economic development department as economic development manager and our real estate department. So I do some market analysis as well. I know you guys are familiar with CoStar. I do some MSRED, so yeah, I do a couple things. And this program, before I actually got into this program, I was still younger. I started when I was like 24, so I didn't have a lot of experience beforehand. I did have my sales associate license, but I wasn't practicing a lot in real estate. So I came in new. As soon as I graduated, I started with my current company, and I've been there for a little over 3.5 years now. So yeah.
So my name is Dustin Osgood. I'm an office leasing agent for Styles Realty. Well, people might ask what that means, and that means I play a lot of golf and I go to a lot of half hours. And I get all the pay and I do none of the work. That's pretty much my job there. But class of 2017 from Nova here. And And I actually did have the job at Styles before I enrolled in the program, but I would say that the program here has certainly helped me not only make relationships with all the fellow students, but I think it's helped to solidify my job at Styles.
I'm on his job. My name is Woody Hughes. I came into the program after I talked to Professor Forgy, and I thought it was a perfect match. I've been in business for about 15 years, and I wanted to try to catapult, because of my age, up a little bit. And after successfully completing the degree, right now, anybody knows that, or anybody needs a job. The job market is unbelievable for skills that we all have now. So luckily I landed at D.R. Horton. I'm an acquisition manager, and we are currently working on about $200 million worth of acquisitions, 26 deals, and we have another $300 million in the pipeline. So when you get to work in the morning, you better be ready to work, because we're on it and we're trying to acquire everything we can. And Lennar is #1, and we want to be #1. So I've been here, I love the program, and happy to be here.
All right, thank you guys for introducing yourselves. The way I want to do this is kind of just throw a question or two out there, and I'll give it to the panel to just answer kind of right down the line. We want to make this conversational, so again, if any of you guys want to maybe ask a question, feel free to raise your hand, and I'll reach out to you and maybe we can get that question answered. So I wanted to start with just trying to get an understanding of what was your career path prior to joining that program, and maybe what made you decide to look into the MSRED program. I'll start with you, Andrew.
Sure. So I graduated college in 2009, which is probably the worst time to graduate college. There were really no job opportunities, so I figured getting my master's is the best thing to do. I explored around and ended up landing here. At the same time I started the program here, I also started to intern at Flagler. I was there for about 6 months. After Flagler, I started off as an analyst over at Continental Real Estate Companies, which is now Colliers. I went from being an analyst on the brokerage side to, as of last year when I left, I was the Senior Vice President of Acquisitions and Asset Management.
So prior to joining the program, I was working for a Class A developer, the Alumni companies. They did a large-scale multifamily development across the U.S. I left the company, well, I started back in 2013. I left the company, in 2017, and I graduated in 2016. So I wanted to, it's a fast-paced environment for those who don't own development and actually work for an employer, but it moves fast. It's a sink or swim environment. The company put me into the fire. Luckily I was able to keep my head above water for a while, and I wanted to kind of enhance my skill set, and I would talk around and ask some questions as far as what would be my best route to, to further my career and enhance my education. And luckily for the alums and having those relationships, one of my colleagues at the time, his name was Evans Gideon, actually recommended me to this program. And if it wasn't for him, I actually wouldn't be sitting here today. So he recommended the program. I actually sat in. I met with the recruiter at the time. They sold me the whole package, of course, and I came into the program. Having a baseline understanding, coming into the program and being able to ask the questions, connect the dots, really allowed me to kind of accelerate my career. I landed a promotion at the Alumni companies at the time to development manager, kind of running the whole process for them from soup to nuts. And my whole goal was to really enhance my career and climb the corporate ladder. I didn't come in here looking to start my own business. However, given the relationship building and the dynamics in the classroom, I took the program very seriously. So did Noah. He's sitting here today. Took it very seriously. He approached me with the opportunity to start our own business and start small, kind of prove ourselves out. And crawl, walk, and run was the scenario. It sounded like a great opportunity for me. I was in the point of my life where I could actually take that risk and that gamble. And we structured the house accordingly. Started with 0, and if it wasn't for the program, we wouldn't have this opportunity. So the program really did connect the dots for me, and also opened a lot of doors. So I hope you guys take advantage of everybody sitting around you today.
So for me, like I said, when I first started, I was rather young, but I do have a background in marketing. That's what I got my undergrad degree in. And then I came down to Florida. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. I went to Ohio University. And I came down here for a sales job in IT, and it was absolutely horrible. I knew that it wasn't for me. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do next? My mother, she's a broker in Cleveland, Ohio. And she was like, look, you're down in Florida. You know, the market's picking back up. I think you should try to, you know, get your real estate license. So I said, okay, I'll do it. Tried out residential for a little bit. I found out, you know, what I wanted to know what else was there in real estate. So actually I went to this conference and NSU had a booth there, and I inquired about the program because I never thought I would go back to grad school. I was like, look, I'm done with school, I'm good. And then I was like, if I do go back, I really want it to be something that's specialized and that I'm passionate about. So while I was working in residential real estate for a little bit, I knew that that wasn't the quite right fit for me, but I did want to explore more commercial and get to know the development side of things. So I decided to come to the program after sitting with Forky, coming to the classes and just getting a preview of what the classes were like. And again, like Steven said, it was an amazing opportunity to really connect with good people. I got a great internship, and I'm sure we'll speak more into that and how, you know, we benefited from the program, but I got a great internship by a guy named Pike Raleigh. He was the principal at Avis & Young in commercial real estate, and he was on the advisory board. So just connecting with him, he gave me an opportunity. And then afterwards, I, you know, got into my position that I'm in now. But again, this is a great launching pad for anybody who's really interested in real estate development, and I'm glad that I did it.
Yeah, so before I was at Stiles, or before I enrolled in the program here, I was at CB Richard Ellis, where I was working as an industrial broker. Prior to that, I graduated from the University of Florida, the business program there in 2005. But as far as why I got into the program, I think I wanted to diversify my skill set. As a sales guy, that's always fun, but it's great to be able to learn the nuts and bolts that put together the industry that we're in here, whether that's on the asset management side or development management. I think it just helped to really round out my skill set, and it's paid dividends, you know, tenfold really.
So I have a unique story, not any different than yours, but I think it's unique. And I was with Habitat for Humanity for probably about 3 years, and prior to that, I worked for 2 investors from Miami, developer investors, and we did a lot of work in Fort Myers. We actually sold the Red Sox stadium in the county, that piece of land where their new stadium is, Fenway, the mini Fenway. So we had this new COO that came in that my boss hired, and the whole organization, nobody really, I don't want to say names, but nobody really liked the guy. Like, there's no way that I could work for this man. So it just started clicking, and I said, oh, NSU has a program right down the, you know, the school's right down the street from my house. Professor Fortune called me right back, and I met with him, and I said, wow, it feels right. You know, sometimes it just feels right. And after being in the business for quite some time, through the good times in 2004 to 2007-ish, through the downturn, which I was employed the whole time, luckily, because we had some smart people I worked for. I just thought it was a great opportunity to augment everything that I did in my career and try to help catapult me into the next position that I wanted to be.
That's good, guys. As you can see, we all come from different walks of life. Some of us started in real estate, some of us started in completely different industries. Myself, 2015, when I started this program, I was on my way to starting this program. I made a decision to get a master's in real estate development in 2010. At that point, I was really just, I was a manager at a retail store called Filing's Basement. I don't know if any of you guys even heard of that, but that's where I was. I was doing extremely well, but at that point, I just realized, you know what, is this the real path that I want to be going down? And then I did some research, and I was trying to decide what was a field where my success in that field was dependent on my effort. You know, when you're in some of these other industries, you're really dependent on somebody else giving you an opportunity, somebody else you know, I wanted to be an actor one day, you know, and I just didn't want to wait on somebody to say, you know what, I choose you today. You know what I mean? So ultimately, I did some research. I didn't have, all I had was a high school diploma. So I literally, that day, made a decision that I was going to do all the work necessary to be successful in the real estate industry. And everything I've done up until this point has been for that. And ultimately, I don't know why you guys made a decision to join this program, but I'm glad you did. And I know when you finish the program, or even a couple years after you guys have finished the program, I bet you everyone here can say that they're glad that they actually joined this program and made that decision. But the next question I wanted to ask is really the program itself. How has it been instrumental in you guys either starting your company or getting with the company that you guys are with now? Andrew?
I think the program really laid down the groundwork for everything that I needed to know. Like I said before, when I came into this program, I knew absolutely nothing. I didn't know anything about real estate. I didn't know anything at all. So it allowed me to really create a groundwork, and then between all of the professors, all of the other students, and sort of just learning and continuing on to learn, I was able to amass all this knowledge and ultimately take it to where I am now.
Andrew, being in a financial role, or to some extent underwriting, what would you recommend to the students that they focus on as they're in the classes right now? You know, what specific coursework or competencies did you learn or pick up that really help or facilitate what you do?
I think one of the biggest things where that gave me a little bit of boost, especially in my career, was Excel modeling. Right? It's one thing to understand cap rate and to know.
I didn't prep this, by the way.
The check is coming later.
It's one thing to know if I change this, something will happen, but why is that? Why is this happening? And really understanding the models and being able to build the models from the ground up, because every deal is different, and I might have a single tenant building one day, and the next day I have a building with 50 tenants, and the next deal it's a multifamily. So being able to understand all the variables and to take that knowledge and the variables and input it into one single model, I think is what allowed me to really not just being an analyst, but then go from analyst to overseeing all acquisitions.
So similar to Rob's story as well, Robert's story, you know, I myself had zero experience in real estate. I had any experience in a professional level, to be honest with you, when I started the Alumni companies. You know, I graduated from FDU with my finance degree and joined the company just because, you know, I had the real estate opportunity and development opportunity. I just needed the job, honestly. I jumped into the opportunity and I fell in love with it. So that's the reason why I decided to get into the program. And the employer, you know, very, like I said, sink or swim. They didn't have time to really teach you the ropes or teach you why things are done. It's just, hey, here's a list of things you need to do, go figure it out. Like my first day I remember starting, I didn't know where the bathroom was at, and they gave me a list of things to do. I was like, can I go use the restroom? You know? So you know, that was my experience, but I, you know, given that it was that type of environment, it really motivated me to like grab the bull by the horns. And given that that wasn't the place to really sit there and be babysitted, I thought the program would be that place that I could actually ask those questions, and it worked out phenomenal. You know, so I had a baseline understanding. I was doing things not knowing why I was doing them, and you know, I knew how to do it, but why. So in the program, it gave you the very top level understanding of what development is, and being able to sit down with, you know, adjunct professors who are actually in the industry, who know how things actually work versus how the textbook is read, you know, really gave you insight into what, you know, the professional industry entails. And I was able to ask the questions, you know, connect the dots, and really further my understanding. You know, the school and my experience prior, they kind of helped each other. You know, school helped my experience, or my work relationship, and my work relationship helped my schooling as well. So, you know, they were both very supplemental and influential on each other. And, you know, if it wasn't for the program, again, I wouldn't have met my partner, and the dots wouldn't have been connected and strengthened my overall understanding to really be able to do my own developments.
With that, Steve, how do you feel like the program probably put you in a position, not just necessarily meeting your business partner, but making you both prepared to actually start your own company together?
Absolutely. You know, like, again, give a very top level understanding of exactly what development is. You know, the entire process from soup to nuts, you guys are going to learn, and you got to absorb it. You know, take your time to learn these materials and these things because it's all important. Everything you're going to learn in this program, you're going to see out in the real world. And, you know, the relationship piece as well. I mean, there's a number of people in here who I'm looking around, I've reached out to and have done deals with or looking to do work with. So that value from a networking and relationship perspective is tremendous, and that outweighs even just your learning. So the learning is a big piece of it, of course, but the relationship building, you guys, you know, look around this classroom. You know, you may be looking at your future business partner or somebody you may work with in the future. So, you know, if it wasn't for that top level understanding, you know, Noah, my partner, he came into the program without having development experience per se, but he was in real estate already. So it was the same thing. You know, we kind of connected the dots, and we knew enough to say, hey, let's figure this out on our own, and that's why we're doing these small projects, and, you know, so far, so good.
Yeah, thanks. Just to piggyback off of what Stephen was saying, I mean, the company that I joined right after school, they're a smaller company, so it was really like sink or swim. Like you were saying, I got thrown into things, and because of the program, I knew about CoStar, which I still use almost daily, and it really helped me getting that experience here first. I also was just able to be more confident as well when I go into different settings. Like Borgie always pushed us to get involved with like ULI and other organizations, and I really took that to heart. So when I went to represent my company now at these different organizations, I feel so much more comfortable. It's so funny because Robert, like a month ago, I went over his house because I was like, I need to brush up on performance skills, but just being able to call somebody that you went to school with and say, hey, can I meet with you for a couple hours to discuss some things? I mean, relationship building, like Stephen was saying, is invaluable. And outside of like the national organizations, Evans, who Stephen mentioned, he graduated before I did, but he brought me into this minorities and commercial real estate group. And through that group, I was able to get a small contract. On my slide, you'll see I have a company that I started with a colleague of mine. It's called Collab Communities, and we were able to really just network with other people that we know in the industry, people we met through these organizations, to start our own company. And I just started it last year. It's still a side company, but we're working to build it. I cover the economic development and real estate side of things, but my partner, he's an architect by training, and he's an urban designer. So together, and with the amount of people that we know, we started reaching out, and we got a couple opportunities. So again, I mean, small steps, but I'm building, and I'm excited about that, and the program helped me evolve as a professional.
Sure. So starting out in real estate, I didn't really know a whole lot. In fact, in a way, I kind of started at the end and I worked my way backwards. I guess I got into the sales role because I got slick hair and I can fold the pocket square. But I'll say that I probably didn't really have a full understanding of how the business works. And like these two were just saying, connect the dots or see how the sausage gets made or whatever saying you want to use there. And then, you know, of course, the networking component of it has been great too. And I've actually taken a couple strokes off my handicap. So, a lot of benefits that I've received after finishing the program here.
I think that every class that I took helped me in some way or another. Most people are like, you know, this is really not my thing, maybe one class or whatever, but in the real world, everything that you learn here, you're going to use. And you may not use it today, you may not, but sometime in your career, you're going to say, hey, I remember that. Especially the 3 yeses, San Miguel's Wall Street Journal ads, I can cork my grade point average. Anyway, I think accomplishing this in 1 year and working 50 hours a week, if you can do that, you can do anything.
Or 2 years, because some of you guys.
But I did it in 1 year.
Good job.
And then I had to deal with my wife too.
Who you love dearly.
So she figured it out like after the first semester that Sundays are mine, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday I studied. It was hard, but it was good.
You guys kind of answered my next question, which was really how do you feel like the program prepared you for the world outside of it? But so I'll move forward to the next one. It's just kind of try to get an understanding of what does your day look like in your current positions.
So no days the same. I mean, there's days where I'm spending, like Monday and Tuesday of next week, I'm on the road and I'm traveling through Orlando and meeting with brokers and meeting with owners and visiting sites and touching real estate and seeing if there's anything to buy. And then there's other days where I'm in the office for 12 hours a day and I'm just running models, and I'm just making sure that whether it's on the asset management side or it's on the acquisition side, that the financials are making sense and I'm doing right by our investors. And then there's other days where it's just we're hunting down deals and I'm speaking with brokers over the phone, I'm reading OMs, and I'm going through a million other things. And then there's the days that are just the mundane that I absolutely hate, but you have to do, and it's going through property budgets and CAM recs and a bunch of other stuff, but it's just stuff that has to get done. So I think the point is that no days are the same.
Yeah, I totally agree with Andrew. There's no typical day per se. You know, being a small business owner, I wear many hats. You know, luckily my partner and I, we have different skill sets. We leverage those, so it's a good complement. And it's important when you're running a business, making sure that you guys are doing different parts of the business. So, you know, there's some days, you know, as a small business owner, again, running lean and mean, you know, there's owning properties. We act as property managers as well. So there's days where I'm actually, you know, cleaning up properties, picking up dog crap. Like, I do whatever it takes to get the job done. Like, you can't be scared, and that's what it takes to be a successful developer or in the real estate industry. You can't get afraid to get your hands dirty. And you know, there's times where it's very mundane, as Andrew said too, where I'm doing all the accounting, all the bookkeeping, the spreadsheets, which you know, staring at the screen for 12 hours straight, it puts a burden on you, and it happens. But it's all part of the process. At the end of the day, whether you enjoy what you're doing at the moment, you got to take a step back and be able to see the forest through the trees. You know, the whole idea of taking your idea, putting it on paper, and bringing it to life is the most satisfying feeling ever. You know, whether it takes you a year, whether it takes you 2 or 3 years, when you're standing behind your product and you're building, you look back and say, I worked 3 years on that thing. This is up here because of me. That's the best feeling.
Yeah, so for me, like everybody said, no one day is the same, but it's funny to see how my career has grown, because when I started, I was an economic development coordinator, so I was doing more of like the analysis for real estate and more so in the office. But now, as I've graduated and been there, you know, a couple years, I've transitioned into more of a project management role. So now I get to go on sites, and half of my day now is still doing some analysis, but half of it is more implementation side. And like I said, I'm working on this really cool project in Pompano Beach, and it's taking the house that was built in 1926 to a park that's really underutilized and a lot of vagrants, and we're really revamping it. It's on the East Atlantic corridor, about a half a mile from the beach. It's a full city block. So I'm not sure if you've been down to the Miami Beach Botanical Gardens, but that's one of our inspirations, except for we're putting the house facing East Atlantic so that it continues the commercial corridor element of it, but it's just really exciting. So I'm talking to different city departments every day, if that's the building department, if that's planning and zoning, if that's going to give presentations in front of the council members or the ZBA board to get this major temporary use permit. I mean, I'm so excited because now I'm more on the implementation side of things, which I've been trying to get to. But again, no one day is the same, but more so during these days, implementation, and it's exciting.
Yeah, certainly never a dull moment in this industry. But as a broker, pretty much what I do all day is fight with people. You know, usually not physically, although I have had a baseball bat swung at me once. But it's, you know, it's fun. It keeps you on your toes. And the responsibilities are usually to the core listing portfolio that I work on for Styles. So reaching out to potential tenants, you know, kind of like obvious companies that potentially would want to move out of whatever building they're in, or maybe move into a certain market where we own a property. And then of course, you know, keeping the asset managers happy. I'm looking at you over there, Ben. And that's a full-time job in itself. I'm kidding, Ben's actually pretty great to work with. But yeah, no, I mean, that's more or less what I do. There's more to it than that, but without digging into the minutia and boring you all, I'd say that's a pretty pretty honest summary of my typical day.
Can you put this slide of my site plan up there?
I lost it.
Okay. Oh, there you go. So anyway, this is a site I'm looking at right now. It's really unique because it's got this great plan that doesn't work right where it's located, and it says, this is from Dr. Worser. Places or spaces that have felt value, identity, and culture. Live, play, work, it sounds great, yes. Retail, all that. But where this site is located, and I don't want to mention any names because I haven't got it under contract yet, it's a $25 million deal. It just doesn't work. It sounds great here, and this design guy, I'm sure he meant well, but it's been stuck there for a long time, and the guy is not a fun seller. He's not a fun seller. So when I looked at this, when you know they sent him into Horton, they say, hey, we want all your money, and we don't want to do anything. When do we get our check? And I'm like, wow, we got to have all of our entitlements. We're a publicly traded company. We're not paying you a penny until it's all there. So he did all this work entitling this property. It's got 730 units. It's unbelievable, the plan, but it doesn't work for us. So when I see this, I see, ready for this? I see the project management class that I took here. The design, you know, we all did the little buildings and all that. I can see that because I'm going to put a bunch of townhouses and single family and parks and whatever, but I'm not putting that there because it doesn't work. This book from Professor Hen, it took them 2.5 years to get that plan because the residents fought them tooth and nail because they hated the project because it's next to Century Village. Believe it or not, now we want to go change it again. That's suicide, right? It's suicide. But this little book will probably be the best book that you'll ever read in your career because when you do land changes, zoning, and the residents with the power of the internet will come out and kick your fanny. Right now, we're buying property in Pembroke Pines that we got from an RFP from the school board. And guess what? It doesn't even really matter what the fight's about. They're going to fight you. So anyway, this book, it's called Land in Conflict. I don't know if anybody's had this class, but most of us have. And you know, when you read it, you're like, oh God, this is boring, I hate it. But Professor Hen, you need 3 yeses to get your zoning or your land use, or your plan is dead. It's commercial property on Pembroke Pines Boulevard. We want to build 225 townhouses, but it's commercial zoning. So we have to change it. And there's no appealing that. If you lose that, you're finished. And right now it's a political time of the year, right? So guess what we had to do? We had to postpone it 4 months until after the elections because we could have lost. We could have lost. So anyway, when I look at this site plan, I see GIS, I see market analysis. That's another class from Professor Worser. Professor Hen, I just talked about. I see that on this little site plan. And look at this. This was the design. I gave the credit to the person that designed it that we're buying. This is another site. I don't want to say where it is because we haven't got it under contract. But I love the building design because that's not working. This is kind of cool. And we are the affordable housing builder. We're the #1 builder in the country in units. But it takes a lot, and in South Florida, we're like #4 because Lennar just kicks our ass and there's a few others. But they've been here. This is their home office, and this is where they've always been. So, you know, you got to keep, you know, you got to be careful how you gauge yourself. But anyway, this little picture here incorporates almost everything that we learned here in one way or another.
And just to piggyback off that really quickly, I mean, my project, I'm trying to bring a botanical garden to the city. And you will not believe.
Oh, the pushback or the butterflies or what?
Yes. I'm like, I'm not building like a 200 like story, like, no, it's a botanical garden, but it's so important to really know the city that you're working in, speak with those resident groups, those organizations, those stakeholders in the community, because I constantly have to build that support and get the crowd to come out and say, yay, we want this. Because again, I mean, a botanical garden, it can easily be shot down. So I understand, believe me.
So what you're saying is that when Forgy made us play with those Legos, it actually led to something?
Yes.
No, unlike these guys, I'm not going to lie to you. My day is the same every single day. No, I'm playing. As an analyst, what my goal is to determine whether or not whoever has the money should put their money where their mouth is. So ultimately, I don't know how many of you guys know the Jungle Island, for instance. I actually did the full analysis on the team that bought that place. It's trying to turn that thing from a zoo to now a main attraction for you to come maybe more than once every 10 years. So, you know, something from that to where I think we've got it up here. Yeah, so like for instance, one of the most recent deals that I've worked on the analysis for was the Miami Tower down in Miami. Ultimately, it's about 45 floors, maybe about 50 tenants. So just imagine having to read through 50 leases to determine whether or not anybody has an expense stop, or what their rent is next year, whether they have a base year, whether they pay their own utilities. These are all things that, fortunately, I can say that I've learned how to do from being in this program, because ultimately, not even just this, I have to read through ground leases. I have to, if you guys remember, her last name, she was our land use attorney, you know, having to call up these land use attorneys or the cities, having to discuss whether or not they'll allow you to change the parking ratio to a place or not. Like, these are all things that you wouldn't know to do unless you actually were put in a situation where you learned that. And honestly, that's exactly what the MSRED program was able to do for us. But I did want to skip through this because we're kind of running out of time a bit. And I wanted to see, ultimately, what did you guys, and I think I'll answer this one first. I wanted to see what you guys thought the Alumni Association, how big of an impact did it have on you guys while you were in this program. For me, personally, again, the main reason I love this program, and I don't want to sound like I'm getting paid by Forgear or anything like that,
You are.
but ultimately the reason I am here today, the reason I'm in this, as uncomfortable as I feel right now, the reason I am here is because when I was in your seats, some of you guys, there were people, Andrew Remick, Jessica, whose name was Jolly back then, where are you, Glenn? Glenn, wherever you are, there you are. These are people who came back to the program to talk to us, to let us know what they were up to, how the program impacted them. And honestly, it's one of the reasons I was able to continue sitting through San Miguel's classes, because I knew that it was leading to something worthwhile. But anyway, yeah, Andrew?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest reasons why I joined the program, and when I joined, the alumni wasn't that big, but still connected to the alumni, was sort of the board members, right? I mean, we were able to have face and speak with all these individuals who are real people in the real estate game. And then as the years went on and the alumni sort of got bigger and bigger, I would say there's not a week that goes by where I don't speak to somebody from the MSRED program. Whether it's on a friendly call or it's a, hey, what do you think rental rates are in Miami? What do you think the development cost is in Orlando? Or it's going on trips or whatever else. And I think, or I know some of my closest friends I've gained from the actual program. So I mean, the alumni community is extremely strong, at least for me.
So we do feel it's very important for us alumni to stay engaged. I mean, not only for our potential synergies, but also for potential employment opportunities or the such. And I already touched on meeting my partner here in the program. I know we hired our first employee recently, Adriana, doing a great job, recent graduate. So, we have these opportunities here in front of us. We have to take advantage. It's not just the alumni committee or the alumni network. It's also the MSRD network. I pick up the phone. I call Dr. Forgy all the time. I called San Miguel on various occasions as well, picking their brains on items. And it's a family. And if it wasn't for MSRD, I honestly wouldn't be here today. So.
Yeah, and I really got my first experience in commercial real estate through Pike, who I spoke about earlier, who works with Avison and Young. Just being able to have access to somebody like that to give me a shot at opportunity, which was an internship. I mean, tremendous. From that internship, I was able to go into my job that I'm currently in now when I was interviewing and speak to that. I had to go, when I was on the internship, go into one of the cities that my current company had worked for. I didn't know that they had worked for this this city, but I was able to go in and say, oh, this is what's happening in this city, and they were really amazed at that, but without that internship, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. So, I mean, it's been amazing, the alumni, like I said, just being able to call any one of these guys, Steven, Rob, anybody I went to school with. I still stay in touch with a lot of people I went through the classes with because they literally became like my sisters. We spent so much time together studying and pushing each other to go to different networking events. So, I mean, it was really important, and it's good to see everybody here, and I hope that the alumni group continues to grow.
Yeah, I mean, I think the program gives everybody instant access to the industry and people that are in all different parts of the industry. You know, certainly the mentors here were a great resource for me, whether it was Sam Miguel or Forgy or Harry Posen. Those are all people that I trust with situations that I end up in, and you know, I trust their advice when they give it. And there's no conflict of interest there, really. You know, they're just here to help. And I'd probably speak for everybody when I say that if any current students have questions, you can always reach out to us.
While I was finishing my degree, I was looking for a new opportunity. And I got to tell you, when you say you have a master's degree in real estate and you're out there, they need, right now, acquisition people and project managers. There is not enough of them. And you know, when you go to work on time. Come ready to work, okay? Because it isn't what you think it is. You got to come to work. Because it's called work for a reason. It's like school backwards. You get paid to learn. How about that? You get paid to learn. It's great. Because you're not going to know crap when you get there. But after 6 months, with all this knowledge and a master's degree, maybe 2 or 3 years later, you can go anywhere you want. But you got to go to work on time. So anyway, I got a couple of people, I don't want to say any names, that work for me, and it's, you know, at my age, 15 minutes early is on time. I don't get sick, but I got to tell you, knowing all of you, when you say you have a master's degree and you're out there in the real job world, just the fact that you had the cojones to go get it and spend the money means something. And you're going to go from the bottom right to the top. Dress properly, smile, have a great attitude, and you're going to get the job. You may not know anything, but pretend. And then after 6 months, you will master it. And I got to tell you, you will be the most exciting thing that you've ever done in your entire life. And then you can do it over and over and over until you're at the top. And a lot of people here already have money. A lot of the young people you've met, their families are wealthy. They're connected. So let's stay together, and if you need a reference, I'll give it to you. But don't come to work late.
I think the biggest takeaway from that is fake it until you make it. So I think we're pretty much done with our time, but I did want to open it up to a couple of questions or not for you.
Okay, so I think it would be really beneficial for all the other alumni that are here just to stand up and briefly introduce themselves and kind of say what they're doing and kind of just go around the room real quick and do that.
Please and thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, all the alumni stand up that are not sitting up front. Okay, let's start over here with Noah and then just kind of work our way around in terms of, let's get a quick introduction, who you are and what you're doing.
All right. Noah Leon, Defined Companies, multifamily, doing it all, small business owner. So it's kind of, as Steven was saying, who's my partner, different hats every day, and you know, enjoying the ride.
Hi, I'm Jessica Abramson. I'm a retail development manager at Styles. I develop grocery-anchored shopping centers.
My name is Danilo. I lead the Cordona Group. We are a residential team primarily, but because of the training here, I'm also doing commercial and looking for development opportunities as well. And that's what
My name is Richard Sankar. I started the program in 2009. I'm the first to start in the program. And I owned a small company in the Turks and Caicos, which I started in 2007, just as the market was crashing. I used the program to grow my company in a down market. And in 2012, when I graduated, it took me a bit longer to graduate than most people because I was flying back and forth 5 weekends of a 10-week program from the Turks and Caicos to attend the program. When I graduated, the Turks and Caicos Sotheby's International Realty Company thought that I was worth looking at, and they offered me a partnership in a company that had a huge market share. They had a 30% market share, I had a 7% market share. Through our partnership, we were able to grow our market share to 55% in the Turks and Caicos. We do about 75% of the trophy properties over $3 million. We recently closed on the Bruce Willis's house this year at $33 million, and the Prince estate at $11 million. So this program has been hugely successful for me. It really helped me transition from a place where, in a down market, where I didn't think I could succeed, into a position of being a shareholder in one of the largest companies in the Turks and Caicos. So I can't say enough about the program. You never know where it's going to take you. You know, if, in my case, I took a risk. You know, it cost me a lot of money between flying back and forth from the Turks and Caicos, but for me it was hugely successful. And I recommend it to anybody who is interested in real estate development.
Alrighty, Jamon Robinson, graduated the program in 2012. I'm a property manager. I manage about 200 condos, houses, triplexes, and 3 commercial buildings. I work for 2 past life developers, so I get to see every day from handling a service call to looking at pro forma to meeting with a commercial tenant. I recently just did my broker's test, so I set up my own brokerage, and the property management thing is slowly going to become a thing of the future, thing of the past, and the new brokerage will be my new thing, hopefully in 2020.
All right.
My name is Ben Boyce. I work for Styles Corporation in their financial services division, asset management. Like most of the panel, or some of the panel, I guess I should say, not everyone, I really didn't know anything about real estate before I started the program. That was, I guess, in almost 9 years ago. Through the program, I was able to obviously kind of get my feet wet and, you know, meet the people in the industry, which allowed me to get the job at Styles. And fast forward, it's been a great success.
My name is Chris Murphy. I own a small company in Fort Lauderdale that acquires and redevelops small apartment buildings near downtown. I'm also on the board of directors of the Northwest Flag of Progresso CRA. So if you guys, any of you have projects that you're working on in Northwest, then you'll come before us for some additional capital. I graduated the program in '09, and it's been a tremendous experience, and I try to come back at least once a semester to lecture on how to get started investing in properties, and then to judge on the occasional panel when I can.
I'm Angelo Anthony Palladino III.
With a vest.
Yeah, you'll always see me in a vest. And I'm probably the only Italian you'll meet from Arkansas. I'm a very recent grad, like August this year, that recent. Can't say enough about the program, the resources within it, whether it's Dr. San Miguel, Dr. Forgy, or any of the alumni that you have standing here. The value, you know, relatively speaking, I was nothing to nobody. I mean, really, I don't come from anything. Coming into this program, I gained a perspective and a network that was strong enough to allow me to get into a development position with Simonelli, which they're a Buffalo-based developer. I do a lot of the, like, I guess, asset management stuff, where we go through and look at, you know, our institutional partners' portfolios and give guidance on what acquisition targets would be for them, so that we can get the management gig on it for the commercial properties. But I'm telling you, if you ever need a resource or perspective, please reach out.
Hello everybody, my name is Marcia Marcela. I work for a real estate developer, Capital Residential. They specialize in multifamily. I'm the director of operations for the firm. I will say that the program was really helpful for me in the sense that I have been previously working with them, but it helped me connect the dots and kind of understand, okay, this is why I do this is why I do that, this is, I mean, kind of the reason behind it. So that's my experience with the program. Really awesome.
I'm Adriana. I work for the two greatest developers here.
Shameless self-plug.
Good job. Good job.
Hey, Tim.
My title is associate, but really that just means that I'm a student all over again. And I just learn, I'm learning, keep on learning, and until I figure out what it is that we're really going to do with me. But until then, keep on, pursue the program, do what you have to do. They're watching you. Everyone here is watching you, and they want to learn from you, and you want to learn from them.
Hi everyone, my name is Alumni. I graduated August 10th was our last conclusion of the capstone project, and now I'm interning at Davidson Young. So I currently do research and data for the industrial team. The industrial market is booming right now, so it's a very exciting time. I work with brokers. Both I work out of Fort Lauderdale and Coral Gables and Brickell. I don't go to Coral Gables or Brickell, but so I stay at Fort Lauderdale. But yeah, that's what I pretty much do now. It's very exciting. A lot of some of the things that I learned in the program that I implement in my job every day is a lot of like the, as you mentioned, CoStar, but also some of the like Google Earth and like MSRED and all that type of stuff. But so, as you said, like even I started out in a small role, there's still like a lot that I'm using from that I learned in the program, so it's great.
My name is Cristian Acero, and it's surprising because I came from a construction background and then I came to a job that I have no idea. Automation is the largest auto dealership of the United States, and then when I took the job, I didn't do really well in school. I had 2 kids, and then, you know, these guys make fun of me because while I was trying to get the grades, I was trying to have kids. And then so it was not really a good sense of where I was, why I did this one. But I wish I would spend more time studying, because the good thing that I did is I bought all the books. So now my job, I always have to get back to the books and then, you know, find what I was looking for. But it's amazing the opportunities that you don't realize until you get into the business. So I got into automation thinking that I was going to do, you know, 1 building, 2 buildings, and I was going to get the next step. Well, it happens to be that we do between 200 to 300 millions per year. And I cover from New York all the way to Miami. My wife is stay home and I can work full time. So a blessing. So you never know what you're going to find once you get into the program. And I love it. I have a passion for development, and as long as you keep pursuing the passion and if you keep committed, no matter how busy the life gets, just keep your eyes to the goal.
My name is Glenn Mala. I graduated from the program in 2011, 2012, I guess I had a little bit of experience in real estate before. I had my undergrad in real estate, Florida State. I'll make this quick, we're missing the game right now. And then, and I was also working in the field. I was working on the appraisal side of the business. And while working with the appraisal firm, we did a lot of market studies for developers, and I thought, you know, development sounded really cool. I looked at a couple of different programs. I was really interested in this program for the hands-on experience from the professors, and I thought it was pretty neat to learn from guys that actually, you know, doing the thing that I wanted to do. So I did the program, and while in the program, I started working with, or shortly after the program, I started working with a private equity firm as their director of acquisitions, and it's been a really good experience here. You know, any bit of advice, I would say take advantage of all your resources, whether it's your classmates, alumni, professors. They're a wealth of information and always, willing to help any way they can. So don't be afraid to take advantage of that.
So Dr. Forty, I wanted to say something. Thank you for the curveball. The whole purpose of this event was to get us up here to kind of talk, engage you guys. We see that, the networking piece is tough for some people. People are shy, but when someone's up here talking, you connect to somebody. Feel free to walk up to us. We're not, we're not those people. We're down to earth. We're happy to answer any questions you have. I remember my experience in the classroom. If it wasn't for the panel speakers and those coming to present, I would have never had the opportunities to connect to them. For example, I found out distressed asset opportunity. I wouldn't have known Chris Murphy, for example, was specialized in this. He's acquiring them all throughout South Florida. Reached out to him and he acquired and got the deal done. If Danilo didn't know that we were developers, he would have been reaching out to us to bring us new deals and new land opportunities. So it's all about this engagement. So I think what happened just now was great. Thank you, Dr. Forty, for the curveball. But this is the purpose, is to get you guys engaged so you guys feel comfortable in talking to everybody, creating those relationships. So this is the purpose of the Alumni Committee as well. We're going to try to restructure things, get everybody re-engaged. So just keep your eye out for more future events and news coming up.
Yeah, and one final thing as to this whole issue. Those of you that are current students, I would encourage you, before you leave tonight, pick out at least one of these people to go up to and to strike up a conversation and kind of follow through a little bit more, because this is a perfect opportunity to take advantage of that, okay? So, anyway, that's all I have to say.
So I just want to see if anybody had any particular quick question for anybody up here. This gentleman here.
You have one team. You guys are you and Noah. What all types of individuals do y'all have in your team, like an architect, an engineer, like who all makes up your development?
So, again, we're a lean shop. It's just myself, Noah, and now Adriana. But, we hire consultants who specialize in the field. We hire the architects, the engineers, the land use attorneys, and such. And it's all about the relationships that I gained through my previous employer and through the program, because I reach out to those. Our newest, faculty member to the program is Adam Hanfinger, who's teaching the construction course. He was actually our construction attorney preparing our contracts. So going back to the relationship piece, so we run the developments. We do everything from soup to nuts. Again, every day is different, but we do all the entitlements. We'll buy vacant land, do all the analysis, market analysis, financial analysis, raise the capital, do all the entitlements, the planning, the design, the management of the asset, and then the sale on the back end. So everything from soup to nuts we do internally, but we hire consultants and pay them through development budgets to run the projects for us. And there's a big difference too. There's running a business and there's running development projects. People think they're one and the same. It's completely different. All right, so that's the reason why we're doing small projects, is to understand the business side of development so we can grow our company and start doing bigger projects, because if you don't have a strong foundation, you're going to collapse pretty quickly. And that was our philosophy. So, small shop, between two knowledgeable people, we're able to really tackle a lot and cover a lot, do a lot of damage.
Thank you. I've never heard of running a business and running development.
Anybody else have any questions? All right.
Rob, if I could just add, because I've got a lot of history here. Which is all good, and I want to say I'm really proud. I think back in the first class that we had when it was just to focus MSRED, and there wasn't a network. I mean, there were 5 students, and there was some that had carried over from the program before. But there's an incredible network now. There's well over 100 people that have graduated in the program, and as I say, a lot of times it's a lot more about the know-who than the know-how. And there's nothing more powerful, I think, that this program can bring to everyone than to stay in touch and to communicate and to continue to build the community. I think the people that originally started this and brought it together envisioned that one day there really would be a broad network of individuals that were connected somehow, that had a formation, that had an understanding of what the industry could really be. And it wasn't just people learning by, sort of get the fire hose when you get to work the first day, but that you actually had some tools. So it's great to see that, we've got so many successful alumni here. But I encourage all of you that are here, as Dr. Forgy said, to get to know somebody. To me, it pains me when I hear from some of our advisors or some of our alumni that they've talked to someone and they haven't followed through, or they haven't, picked a mentor yet, or they're not really taking it seriously. There's phenomenal tools here. There's phenomenal networking opportunities in a variety of different, spaces in the industry now, from brokerage to, we've got several people in the home building space right now brokers, financial analysts, so construction. So take advantage of it, but get engaged. It's ultimately what's going to add value to your degrees. It's not what you learn in the classroom. It's not the Excel spreadsheet that you put together. It's being able to have the knowledge to put that spreadsheet together and then link with somebody else. So take advantage of it. That's all.
And can I add something? I know everybody wants to probably have a drink and watch the game, but can I just add one thing to what Professor said? We had this superstar on our team, on our capstones team, named Juliana, and she made the whole project. And I was at an architect's firm doing my thing, and this guy's like, man, if I could just find one good architect, I'm so busy, and he's a developer or whatever, and I'm like, I know the person for you. And over about a 2-month, it was around the 4th of July, Miriam knows this, and I introduced the two, and she is a superstar. The guy loves her, and it was just all from one simple introduction, and she's doing what she loves, and she's unbelievable. We had whole buildings and designs, and it's really been an amazing opportunity for her. And it could be just a simple conversation, golfing, whatever.
Well, and to piggyback off your point, that's Aaron Ladd is who introduced me to Simonelli. I would have not ever entered their orbit. It's a Buffalo, New York-based developer. I'm some Italian from Arkansas that's living in South Florida. Without that exposure and that network, I never would have gotten in the door. So who's sitting next to you and across from you matters a ton, more than you realize.
So I'm just gonna, I got here a little late, maybe Steven already mentioned this, but our GC that's building our next 2 projects is actually, he partnered with another gentleman, and he sat next to me in your class, Winston Vidier, and we've established these relationships, maintained them, and now, a couple years later, he's building some of our projects. Our design team, the guy that was in the white hat, asked about the design team. We're using someone who is a partner at an architecture firm, and we're proceeding with our Linear Lake Ridge project with them. So, definitely resources.
And just again, my first opportunity in this industry came through an adjunct professor at the program. So I did all I could for the program, for his class. Turned out to be one of the best, of course. And ultimately was offered an internship with his company down in Bayside, and that turned into a full-time position, which then I turned that into another position with another company. So ultimately, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So use the people in this room. We have connections with other people who belong in this room, and just make that connection, because ultimately real estate is a relationship business. And that's one thing, that's the biggest thing I got from this program, is that you have to make those relationships. And again, that is why we're here. And I do want to end this on a completely different note. In February of 2017, excuse me for a second, February of 2017, I had a child that was born 3 months early, sorry. And I found out today that one of those women who took care of my son, and he's 2 years old now, he's beautiful, amazing, but one of those women who took care of my son is in this room, and is the fiance of Steve. That's how small this world is. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much. Huh? And she's an alumni of NSU, so please, thank you.
Thank you guys.